Today, we're going to talk about why this little dork is jacking up your throw. Okay, so why is the elbow so important in the disc golf throw? Well, it's kind of a two-part thing, right? It's important in the release, but it's also important in the pull-through. So let's talk about the pull-through portion first. I want to do a little experiment with you guys. I want you to grab two discs, okay? And if you've done my warm-up routine, you've probably done this before. What we're going to do is we're going to do the good old-fashioned twirly bird, okay? What I want you to do to start is face the stamps of the discs toward the ground, okay? And if you haven't seen twirly bird, I'll link it in the description. We're basically rotating our body, leaving our arms loose. What you'll find if you do twirly bird with the stamps facing the ground is that your hand and your arm naturally break and your elbow goes forward. When I turn back, right, my arm naturally bends at the elbow, disc comes into the pocket, and then it ejects, right? Now do it with the stamps facing the ceiling, okay? And you'll find that doesn't really happen anymore. It doesn't naturally happen. I have to manually curve, like pull the disc into the pocket because of my elbow orientation. If you notice, when I hold the disc stamp down, my elbow points out. When I hold the disc stamp up, my elbow points down. Okay? So by keeping our elbow orientation correct, right, in our real throw, we can make sure that when we start to shift our weight and turn our body, right, our legs, our hips, our torso help us get into the pocket. Okay? This is one of the most important things. If you're having trouble getting to the pocket, it's probably because your arm alone can't fight up and out and in before your hips turn, right? We need to allow our hips to help. You turn, everything comes in at once, we follow through, okay? So using these discs, you can see that the elbow orientation, especially on the reach back and pull in, matters a lot. Okay, so what about the front side, right? We've helped ourselves in the pocket, our elbow is up. Why is elbow dipping so important? Well, I call this opening the gate. When you let the power that you're generating flow through the hinge that is your elbow. And you can try it yourself. Most people, when they do a shadow swing with the disc in their hand that's sideways, you see a lot of pros do this on the tee, right? It gives you a little bit of resistance so you're not dry firing your elbow, which I don't recommend, which is doing this, right? If you do this hard, you have a good chance of hyperextending your elbow. So don't do that. Use something that at least gives you a little bit of resistance so you can stop in time. But if you keep the disc sideways and you just open your elbow, you can feel how fast it is. Whatever power I put in there just goes straight through. Whereas if I point the stamp of the disc to the sky, right, pinning my elbow, you can feel it's nowhere near as fast, and I can't put power into it with my hips, right? I'm limited by the muscles that externally rotate my arm, right? So by dropping our elbow, not only do we mess our swing plane up and probably our nose angle, because we're going to come out like this, but we also just limit the amount of power that we can put through. So keeping our elbow high, right, and not too high. You don't want to be shrugging your shoulder. Depressed and on the swing plane. I want your elbow in line with the swing plane that your nipples and your ribs make. So somewhere in here, right? Boom, elbow's here. We can allow the power that we generate to just flow through freely, right? So that's why it's so important on the front side of the swing. So how do we fix it? Well, I have a warm-up routine, right, that you should do before you practice and before you play. The reason is part of the warm-up routine is starting off stamps facing the ground and moving through, right, the mobility of stamps facing you. Can we do it that way? Yes. Stamps facing up, can we do it that way? That's what we're working towards. So by going up in that progression every single day as you practice and play, right, you're showing your body, hey, I want to keep my stamp up, but I want my elbow to be able to do the twirly bird elbow in, okay? So by doing that warm-up every day, you're giving small signals to your body that say, hey, this is what I want to be able to do, okay? Some extra mobility and extra stretching can help, because the reason we can't keep our elbow up with the stamp up, right, is a mobility problem. Elbow up, I can keep my elbow up with the stamp up because I've worked on it. But for most of you, if you try to keep your elbow on the swing plan like this and turn your arm, you're gonna feel this wanna pull down. So we have to slowly over time, right, show our body that it's okay. The same thing as our shoulder. Our body's just trying to protect us by pinning our elbow. We have to reduce the speed, right? Keep everything right. Let's say you can only do it at 30% power. Your body only allows you to keep that elbow up on 30% power. As soon as you start going above that, it starts tucking, okay? We need to go to 30% power and slowly inch it up, show it. It's okay, right? Over time, so we're not overstressing our elbow, overstressing our shoulder. Our body's trying to protect us because it knows, it doesn't know if we can handle the load, right? It's like, that's a lot of forces. I'm not sure we can handle that. Let's make it safer. So we have to work ourselves up to telling our body, it is safe for us to do this. We can do it. Same thing with depressing the shoulder, okay? So we can do the warm-up mobility routine, right? We can focus on this twirly bird movement with the stamp toward the sky, right? That allows our elbow to stay up. Another thing we can try is suitcasing. I'm sure a lot of you guys have experimented or heard of suitcasing before. But what it does is it basically puts us half stamp up, half stamp down for at least some of the throw. So when we pull in, right, now we're in a spot where we can keep our elbow up. So we can use our hips to pull in, and then we can rotate at the hit if we need to. You can also start and rotate at reach back. The suitcase, right, is a way to get your mobility better so that your body doesn't stop you from doing what you want to do, okay? So we went over twirly bird, we went over suitcasing. Let's talk the sideways disc, right? So you see a lot of pros on the tee, sideways disc, pre-throw, right? They're getting their release point, they're getting their aim point, and they're just reminding their body, this is how we want the throw to go. So when they turn the disc, they just repeat that movement, but with the disc stamp up, okay? So that's something you can try. And finally, I just want to reiterate, right? When you're trying to throw as hard as you can, you're turning on muscles that are causing you to not be able to throw far, right? We need to keep our body relaxed. We need to allow everything to flow through. Otherwise, our body's going to protect itself. So slow down a little bit. You might think you're throwing harder when you grit your teeth and grunt, but sometimes you're just not. And if you have a tech disc, I know you've experienced this. You go out there, you warm up, you hit 65, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna crush it today. I'm gonna go for 75, blah, blah, blah. You start ripping as hard as you can and you're hitting 62, 61, 63. It's because you're tensing all of these muscles up, which breaks the kinetic chain and stops me from using all of this power I'm generating with my hips and my torso. So just slow down. Keep it nice and smooth, and I swear you will throw as far as you do when you're grunting and tensing. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Subscribe.